We have Dr. B once again on the platform.
It's like there's no tomorrow.
Could you tell us how things have been since your last project that was inspired by Game of Thrones we spoke about?
Oh yeah, things have been pretty good. Thanks a lot for having me. That project, it's not released yet. I think it's going to come out later this year or early next year. Reason being is because there was like I would say maybe a 2 year delay because of the Russian war that happened,
Yeah.
and everybody associated with the project, like the concept artists, animators, and things like that, they're all Russian.
Oh,
And yeah, and one of the lead concept artists was actually in Ukraine. So when we were working on it, literally like the war started, and
yeah.
then like everything stopped. And the crazy thing is the lead concept artist, I would say about maybe about 8 months into the war, we took a really long break because him and his family, they literally had to like flee Russia. So
Yeah.
they went on the run. um, I can't remember exactly what city they actually settled into, but it took them a while to move around and get situated. And I was talking to him on a regular basis, but he was telling me it was really crazy. Like he didn't even have access to like bank accounts. And yeah, it was pretty nuts, man. And he was also supposed to be a teacher, a professor at an art school.
Yeah.
He had all that set up when he was finishing graduate school, and then the war happened, and then everything went to hell. So there was that long delay, and then when that happened, I started just working on some other stories and some other ideas.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, and one of the stories I was working on was Echoes Through Time, which just recently came out, which is an audio film. It's available on all streaming platforms right now. And I would say, like an audio film, if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's really a combination of really deep cinematic storytelling with a combination of in-depth music, emotional music, voice actors. You'll hear special effects. You'll hear like different sound effects on there, and
Yeah.
it's meant to give the audience just a completely different experience. So, for example, if you're on, let's say, the bus, if you're in the subway, you put on those noise canceling headphones, listen to one of my audio films, and you'll literally feel like you're in a movie. Your mind is
Yeah.
transported somewhere else. So it's not meant to replace all music, of course not, right? Sometimes we just want to party and dance, but it is something out there to give the fans and listeners just a different way to experience music and a different way to experience a story, right? And the beauty, what I really love about audio films is that it really gives the audience the opportunity to dream, to just really think about the music, think about the characters, think about the special effects, visualize in your mind where
Yeah.
you think some of these characters are going to be. And oh, this guy shooting at this guy, and then you hear explosions and then moving, and you hear time jumping, and you hear all these really cool things. So
Mm.
I think sometimes with our cell phones and all these touchscreens and things like that, sometimes we forget about just sitting still within ourselves and
Yeah.
just being able to dream, right? And it's kind of hard to do that with so much distraction. A lot of us have relationships, kids, work, jobs. You're driving on the highway, there's a million billboards. I feel like our eyes are always, or our minds are always, always stimulated, constantly, constantly. But when you can just sit there and be still, right, within yourself, whether it's just through meditation or experience one of my audio films, I think you'll just find a different sense of enjoyment in entertainment, and it's just done in a different way, and it's meant to be offered just a different experience.
So how did you come about with this concept?
The crazy thing is, to make a long story short, when I got out of the music business, I started writing stories, and I became a best-selling graphic novelist in 2017. And I really like sci-fi, all these different characters and things like that. So what I was trying to do was turn my graphic novel into a motion comic. With a motion comic, you have animation and special effects and things like that moving around on the screen.
Yeah.
But I needed somebody to do the music, and I couldn't find anybody to do the music like the way I really wanted it done. So I just said, oh, screw it, man, I'll do it myself, right? So I did it, and I got really hooked. I mean, to me, making the music for the motion comic was just more fun than actually making the motion comic itself. As much as I love the special effects and things like that, I just had such a great time making music from a different perspective. And then when I was kind of playing around with a visual album during COVID, I started thinking about when I was really listening to the music, and you got to put the headphones and listen to it 1,000 times when you're editing and you're mixing and mastering and going through that process. But when I was really listening to it, I was just really enjoying listening to the story and listening to the voice actors and listening to the special effects. I said, man, this sounds really, really fucking cool, even without any visuals. Like if you just close your eyes, like one of my stories in Dragonfire, the whole album is narrated by Zeus. And there's this amazing voice actor that I met a couple of years ago. I think he's in Ireland. And when you hear his voice, like he really embodies the character of Zeus. Like he really sounds like a Greek god,
Yeah.
right? Right? And there's like, and the way we EQ'd it, I worked with another engineer on really getting the tone of his voice right, right? So it has like so much bass, and you could really hear the power like in his lungs. Like he sounds bigger than a human being. Like he doesn't sound human. He sounds larger. And I
Yeah.
felt like a lot of that goes into our interpretation of our mind, like how we interpret these sounds, right? Now, when I give you a visual, visually, you'll look at that and say, oh, okay, that's what the artist meant for the character to look like. But
Yeah.
if I just give you the sound and you tell me, what do you
Yeah.
think he
To
looks like?
create your
Right?
vision
Now,
of
if,
your head.
right, but if I give that to 10 different people, I guarantee you 10 different people will have a different interpretation of Zeus,
Yes.
right? And what is that all based on? It's all based on culture, language, environment, how we're raised, um, our enjoyment for certain films, non-enjoyment, the list goes on and on and on, right? So how I might see the character and interpret the character, you might interpret that character completely different. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of it, is that you could talk about it and talk about it with your friends and listening to these things, and you discover things in it that maybe somebody else didn't discover or see
Yeah.
or hear. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when I was playing around with the ideas and then when I put it all together, to me the hardest part is how do you really incorporate music into something like this? Like, how do you know when to stop? How do you know when too much voice acting is too much voice acting? How do you know when to pull back
Yeah.
and balance it all out? That was a difficult process. It took me a couple of years to kind of play around with some ideas and go through editing. And I've done now four of these albums. Two of them are released. I'm still editing the other two, but it's like an ongoing process. You want to get it right and perfect, and I don't want to release something and it's not going to be up to here.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so yeah, it's kind of like how do you really know? I'm not really sure how how you know uh like when to stop and when to go forward. I think it's
Yeah.
really more of a understanding how to write a story and knowing when to start and stop. You also don't want the interludes too long. But at some interludes, you're trying to tell a story, so you want them to be, a little bit longer. But I don't focus on time. I just focus on, okay, what's the scene? What are we trying to create? Right? And don't necessarily worry about the time.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think anybody looks at, a track and says, oh my God, it's 6 minutes. Like, who cares? Like, people just listen, you know what I mean? People listen to like 4 hour podcasts, so no one really cares about that,
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
right? So I think it's more about entertaining, right? Are you really going to capture the audience right away? So I was like, one of my other audio films I'm working on, I started to like edit it some more. It's called Dune New Earth. And it's set in the Dune universe, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the Dune characters. But we talk about New Earth and how New Earth discovers spice mining. a couple of the other houses attack New Earth for spice mining production, but right away from the beginning, it's maybe a 20, 25 second narration to tell you what the story is. And
Yeah.
then we jump right into it right away. Right away, you hear the war happening. You hear spaceships flying, crashing down, lasers and explosions, and you hear people running, and you hear literally hundreds of thousands of people trying to flee off New Earth, trying to escape the war. So you hear like battle scenes and space scenes and different planets and my character's interpretation and experience with all these new characters and different planets. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to create this, and I'm looking forward to releasing it later on this year. Sorry if I was talking too much.
No, no, good. You're explaining the project quite detailed.
Yeah.
So I know we talked last time about you being a producer in the music industry, and you just brought up when you're in the industry. Do you still have the same thoughts about the industry?
Um, what do you mean? Which thoughts?
That I believe you were saying like how things were, you couldn't be creative like how you're being right now with a project because in the industry there's certain like typecasts.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Listen, I think in this day and age now, I'm probably one of the first people to do an audio film. As a matter of fact, I've never
Yeah.
heard of anybody do an
Wow.
audio film, so I might be the first one. But mark my words, I won't be the last. And I think labels, when they really catch on to this, I think everybody's going to see an opportunity to make another $1 billion. Because if you really think about it, let me put it to you this way. What if Drake came out tomorrow with an audio film? The whole planet would lose their mind,
Yeah.
right? Think about that for a second. Drake's also an actor, and he's a really good one too, right? So
Yeah.
what if he came up with these are all writers, right? They all write their own music. Now, granted, they're not storytellers in the terms of cinematic films or writing books or sci-fi or things like that. But I'm not saying that they can't do that. Maybe they just never tried,
Yeah.
right? But that doesn't mean they can't. That doesn't mean they're not good. But here's one thing that they all have in common. They all have a lot of money. They all have a lot of resources. So even if they themselves can't write the story, they can always call me. They can always work with me. I'd be more than happy to work with any musician and say, listen, Doc, I'm great at music, but I don't know how to write like a really cool story or something like that. Can you come up with something new, creative for me,
Yeah.
original? Of course I can. And we can work on something in that regard. But I can tell you this right now, eventually this will catch on. I expect to be working and being pretty busy soon, quite a bit, because I'm one of the first people to do it, and that's usually what happens when
Yeah.
you're one of the first people. But I'm excited because I'm just one person out of a billion people, right? So think of all the other ideas and all these other concepts that can come out that, I mean, I can't think of everything, right? So
True.
I'm looking forward to what other people do, but I think labels are greedy, and when they see that they can make a lot of money off this, they're going to capitalize and be like, "Oh yeah, we thought of this the whole time." And yeah, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But as an artist, I'm much more comfortable being independent because I could do what I want when I want. I don't have to answer to anybody,
Yeah.
and I'm having a great time. And I have my own release schedule. I get to talk to people, awesome people like you all the time. So I'm happy, man. I'm okay. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean I wouldn't trade up and take something better because I think that's what you should do. But overall, I'm pretty good. I'm not willing to give away my creative control or master control, um, pretty much for anything because I just don't have to do that.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just don't have to. Again, my for your listeners that don't know, my major priority in life is to be a forensic psychologist. So at the end of the day, as long as I have my PhD and I'm doing my work, I'm a happy guy.
It's interesting. I know he's a controversial figure, but you're kind of sounding like Kanye West when he's feels that he's boxed in, that people box him into a category that he feels he's creative enough to try other things, even if he might fail. And
Yeah.
I think when it's creative minds, although sometimes there's eccentric, I don't know if that's part of the being creative too, that you think out the box and it looks odd to other people. But I think that's important for the entertainment industry.
Things are always weird when you see them the first time or two, right?
Yeah, yeah,
But the moment your friend is telling you, "Hey, did you see this or did you hear that?" and then this person, then all of a sudden, "Oh yeah, I like it," and I'm into it. It's all interpretation,
yeah.
right? And impressions and how we see things. So, um, I encourage anybody who's listening, if you are an artist, if you're a creative, work your program, man. Do your own thing. Don't be afraid to go for it and strive for bigger and better opportunities. And when you see an opportunity right in your face, don't be afraid to stop and check it out. Because a lot of people are too busy on their phones and all these opportunities are passing them by. They don't
Yeah.
even realize it. So don't be afraid to stop and smell the roses.
So I don't know if you heard the passing of a foundational Toronto rapper, Bishop Briganti.
Yes, I think I heard something like that on the radio.
Yeah, he passed on Sunday. Did you ever work with him?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you did.
No, no. I've only been in Toronto for 7 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I never had the opportunity.
Yeah. So what would you like people to remember you for your work? And even if you have your other passions like the forensic as you brought up.
More importantly, I hope people, people can have their own impressions of you. What I care about the most is that my kids think that I was just the best dad. That's what I care about. I care about that when my wife puts me in the ground, she says, "This is my soulmate, man. This was it. There's nobody else for me." Not that I want her to be alone. I'm just saying that, we're connected. Right?
Yeah,
Look
I
at
get
us.
what
We just celebrated our 26th wedding anniversary. Look, we got some new tats,
yeah,
right? And here it says 25 up on
yeah.
top. And we got some tats here, some special tats that says "I am you, you are me." I mean, all my tats from my
That's what's
family.
important. Yeah, that's what's
It's
important.
it's my family. So,
Yeah, yeah,
I publicly I would like people to appreciate my music and love my audio films and think that my music can entertain them forever. But I'm more concerned with um my private image with my family than anything else.
yeah.
So as long as my kids say, "Hey, this guy, he's not too bad," I'm
Yeah.
okay.
So what's next for you after this project drops? Any
Well,
plan?
right now I'm trying to finish up Dune New Earth, and I'm trying to get that out
Yeah,
hopefully this summer in July or August. I got a Christmas remix album coming out on November 15th. I think everybody's gonna love that. I took some of our favorite Christmas songs. Man, have you ever noticed all these Christmas tracks? They're all slow paced. Like
yeah,
what the fuck, man? You can't dance to that. You can't get drunk to these songs. You definitely can't smoke weed to this.
I know.
So literally in December or last November, I started working on some remixes, some really party tracks of our famous tracks that we all know and love. But I remixed them and made them into dance songs, hip hop tracks,
Yeah,
dance hall. You should see. I got one track. I did Mariah Carey Silent Night. I turned that into a reggae track. You
uh,
should you're gonna love that. Okay. There's Baby Please Come Home. I turned that. It's more of like a hip hop dance type of track.
yeah,
Justin Bieber's Mistletoe. I turned that into a Jersey club track. I think there's 6 tracks in total, 6 or 7.
yeah,
So it's a type of album where it's just a lot of fun. I mean, you could literally be at a Christmas party, just press play. Don't worry about any interludes or anything like that. It's not going to break up the party vibe, and everybody can drink eggnog and have a great time and just dance. So I'm really looking forward to that coming out in December. And between now and then, I have a lot of singles that are going to be released. I got some hip hop, dance hall, some pop music.
okay.
Yeah.
People
So
can hear
yeah,
your music on all the platforms like Spotify and so on.
yep, it's available on all platforms.
Yeah.
You can also check out my social media. I am DRB6 on all social media platforms.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so yeah, this will be a pretty big year. But I think over the summer, I probably will be releasing about 5 or 6 singles, maybe more.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to leave the viewers with?
Please check out my new audio film, Echoes Through Time. I promise you, it'll entertain you, it'll blow your mind. It's something new, something different. If you're into The Matrix, if you're into bullet time, if you're into mafia, time travel, all that type of crazy entertainment type stuff, this
Yeah.
is for you. This is for you. You'll totally hear jumping and gunshots and bullet time. It's crazy. Okay. And I'm not overselling it. It's pretty dope.
What it is.
But
Yeah.
more importantly, it's also a love story. It's about these two characters that find each other in this futuristic world where all this chaos and explosions and murders are going on. These
Yeah.
two characters, Danny and Damien, they find each other, and the songs are all acoustic songs, and the songs represent their relationship. So the album really picks up 2 to 3 years into their relationship, and the songs you'll hear, some of them are songs like, I can't stand you. You're driving me crazy. Well, you're driving me crazy too. And
Yeah.
we should break up. And then there's other tracks where it's like, I can't live without you. And I didn't even know love before you. So it really represents just every relationship, because every relationship goes up, it goes down.
Yeah.
You got some good days, you got some bad days. But in the end, these two characters, they stay together because they realize they're soulmates. So that's what the whole album's about. That's the concept. I hope you guys love it, really enjoy it. And feel free to check out my catalog. There's a lot of other variety on there, dance hall, pop, all kinds of other things. I think I got about 70 singles. And yeah, stay tuned. And feel free to follow me definitely on Spotify so you guys will get the updates and release for all my next singles. But I got some new tracks coming out in April and May.
Going May. Okay.